everyone, I am MSK, aka Master Swag King, coming at you guys today with another video. And in today's video, we are going to be talking about Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, the DCEU, as well as the superhero movie fatigue that rolled in 2023. But before I cover all of the topics I have set for today's video, as well as talking about the biggest problems surrounding all of this, I highly recommend you guys go and watch my previous video where I talk about Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom and all the issues surrounding the movie as well as the DCEU that got us to this point here in December of 2023 as the DCEU is officially ending. Now, I know a lot of people like to point to that James Gunn video that he uploaded on his YouTube channel, basically letting people know that the DCEU is getting rebooted into the DCU, with the first projects for the DCU coming out in 2024, with Creatures Commandos as the first official movie for the DCU coming out in 2025 with Superman Legacy. There is something here pivotal that I would like to point out to people, is that the last 6 to 7 DCEU movies couldn't even crack $400 million worldwide. Who knows? This movie, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, might not even crack $400 million worldwide. One of those movies in those 6 to 7 was Black Adam, with the main star being Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, who is the biggest movie star in the world. So even when a movie is headlined by the biggest movie star in the world, it can't even crack $400 million in this specific franchise, which has some of the biggest superheroes of all time. Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, The Flash. So this is a massive issue here. But this was something that was obviously building up before the James Gunn video that he uploaded to obviously his Twitter account, right? So you could even trace this back to Justice League that came out back in 2017. A Justice League movie should have no business making $639 million at the worldwide box office with iconic characters that I've mentioned previously in this video. There's no way that should be a thing at all, even with the behind the scenes issues surrounding just not only that movie, but Warner Brothers at the time. Then if you just discount Aquaman, because that was like the brief height of the DCEU, every movie after that, and I love the 2019 Shazam movie, and I love the Suicide Squad by James Gunn, but those movies utterly flopped at the box office. Movies basically since 2019 Shazam have been pretty much flopping at the box office, right? So the James Gunn video that he put out, letting people know that the universe is getting rebooted, that was, to me, the straw that broke the camel's back. That's how I view that. Because these movies were already losing steam at the box office with every release, basically since 2019, if you want to use a clear indicator of that. Then we know the reason why this universe was created was because Warner Brothers at the time saw all of the success of the MCU and they thought to themselves, you know what, I want a piece of that. And to get a piece of that, you would have to kind of understand, there's some building blocks you need to obviously put in place to get to that end result you want. Did Warner Brothers do that? No, they did not. First of all, they took the word of Christopher Nolan, who I love as a director, but him kind of recommending Zack Snyder to headline a universe for DC was obviously not good. Yes, Zack Snyder had success with Watchmen to a certain extent, but those are obviously different characters for that approach than compared to Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, The Flash, Green Lantern, Cyborg, Martian Manhunter, Aquaman, right? He obviously was not the guy to headline the first movies in the DCEU. He just wasn't. Man of Steel comes out, very divisive. People, it's basically split in the middle. BVS comes out, it's pretty much just complete trash, in my own personal opinion. And it all came from basically Warner Brothers being very just jealous and bitter of what Marvel had at the time, all that success. They really never knew what they wanted from this universe. All they wanted was just big giant numbers like Marvel was getting, right? But they never understood. To get that, you have to basically build to that. You have to build to that. We've seen them do it before, so you can't use the argument, oh, you don't need all this setup. They literally did that kind of setup in the animated projects a lot of you guys love. All those animated stuff you guys love from DC has setup to it. There's a reason why you do setup in storytelling. It's a very basic thing that can lead to a great impact, but if you basically try to fast forward your universe, it could either basically hit very hard, or it could just obviously miss and just go completely to the trash like this universe eventually did. Now, for superhero movie fatigue ruling in 2023, I watched Ant-Man 3, I watched The Flash, and I watched Shazam 2. Okay? So I didn't see Blue Beetle, Aquaman 2 yet, or the Marvels, or even Guardians 3. But I did watch Across the Spider-Verse. So I think, so my favorite movie out of the superhero movies released this year was the Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse with Miles Morales. I thought that was the best superhero movie that I've seen this year. A lot of the word of mouth on a lot of superhero movies have been pretty bad, outside of like that one specifically that I mentioned, and Guardians 3. I mean, the Marvels came out, basically just fizzled at the box office. This movie, even though still early on in its box office, lifespan, it's not doing so well. Blue Beetle came out, from the people that I know and people that I've seen it, they don't really talk about it as much. Ant-Man 3, I saw it, I thought that was pretty bad. There's just been, and obviously The Flash is one of the most biggest offenders of that. Like, these movies have just not been good. If we're just being completely honest here, superhero movies, even the ones that I've seen, have just not been that good. Shazam 2 was not good, The Flash was not good, Ant-Man 3 was not good. And seeing all those movies in a row kind of just made me went, why would I watch the rest of these? I had no faith in the rest of them because a lot of what I saw was really, really bad. It's not really superhero fatigue, it's just bad quality movie fatigue is really all it is. Bad story fatigue. It's not the superheroes that's attached to them. People aren't really tired of superheroes per se. It's just more like, if you're getting so many bad ones in a row, people are just going to be essentially soured on superhero movies in general. And this is something that I want to point out right here that I see a lot of people don't point out in their other videos talking about this stuff, is the first Aquaman movie, despite people kind of liking it to a certain extent, it doesn't have like the greatest word of mouth on it, but it's all right. It's an all right movie. Does the first Aquaman movie kind of even warrant a sequel? Does the first Captain Marvel movie warrant a sequel? Well, the only reason why both of these movies got sequels, and it's crazy how they both ended up coming out simultaneously as the sequels did in 2023, toward the end of the year, was because both previous first films made $1 billion. Keep in mind, these first movies aren't like home runs in terms of like how people talk about them. Aquaman is obviously a much better film than Captain Marvel, I will give you that, but at the end of the day, it's just all right, and obviously Jason Momoa, who portrays Arthur Curry, aka Aquaman, is not really Arthur Curry. He doesn't even really look like him, right? But there was many positives about the first Aquaman movie, and people really didn't like Ezra Miller based off all the things that he did, right? People know that Amber's a part of this. That also can't be good for Aquaman 2 having a lifespan at the box office. But I really fail to understand why make sequels to these movies when the first ones released for these movies were kind of just looked at as basically bad to just like, all right, So, I think you get the results of people that weren't really super like in love with the first ones and just not showing up for the sequels, obviously. And now that the DCEU is over, I think it's something to look back and go, this is how to not build a franchise at all, really. Foundering, Aquaman 2 makes it official. Superhero fatigue ruled in 2023. Just ask The Flash, Blue Beetle, or Captain Marvel. Also, I want to point out that Warner Brothers basically just put this movie out to die. They kind of just wanted to just get it out and just go like, yeah, this universe is over. Let's move on to like Matt Reeves' projects with the Batman or just James Gunn's DCU, right? Because they didn't do any red carpet. They did not do a red carpet premiere. They also didn't do any real big marketing for this movie outside of what they already put in for marketing, like TV spots and all the other stuff, right? All they really pretty much did was just Jason Momoa and James Wan going out to like fan meetups, which pretty much means that they just kind of ambush theater screenings for Aquaman 2. That's it. I know they released a tie-in comic book for Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, but as we know, those tie-in comics, it's hard to really guess like how much they'll actually sell, and get people actually invested into watching this movie if you're talking about the average comic reader, which hasn't really been there because we know the industry is burning. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom tanked at the box office this weekend, debuting at 28 million, about 9 million less than projected ticket sales, and becoming the latest superhero film this year to bomb, in a trend the industry is referring to as superhero fatigue. So this movie was projected to hit around, what, 7 million less than the Marvels. The Marvels opened up to about $47 million, and this film was projected to open to about 7 million less, or even 20 million less than that. Key facts. Warner Brothers and DC Studios' Aquaman sequel starring Jason Momoa and costing $205 million was one of the worst performing superhero films of the year, falling short of the $67.8 million debut of the first Aquaman installment in 2018, and ranking as the fourth worst performing DC Extended Universe film debut of all time. Despite its underperformance, Aquaman 2 topped the three other movie debuts this weekend: Universal and Illumination's Migration, Sony Pictures' Anyone But You, and A24's The Iron Claw, but was still among the worst superhero debuts of the year, Variety reported. Aquaman 2 was among 4 DC Studios films to disappoint at the box office this year, joining The Flash, which brought in $55.1 million, about $12 million less than expected, Shazam! Fury of the Gods, which opened to $30.5 million, significantly lower than the $53.5 million domestic opening of the first Shazam, and Blue Beetle, which opened to $25 million less than the $25 million to $32 million projections. Adding to superhero movies' dismal performances in 2023, Disney's The Marvels, sequel to Captain Marvel, was the lowest earning installment ever of Disney's Marvel Cinematic Universe, debuting in November at $47 million, less than a third of what Captain Marvel made in its opening weekend in 2019, and significantly below domestic projections of $75 to $80 million, according to CNBC, trash media outlet, which that is. So, let's break this down really quickly here. Okay, so the reason why the first Aquaman movie performed as well as it did was because, well, Jason Momoa is an extremely hot dude. I'm not gay, but he's an extremely hot dude. And people wanted to see the direction the DCEU was going after Justice League. It's kind of like the effect of, like, the movies that performed very well after Avengers movies for the MCU. The movies that did well after Avengers movies did well because people kind of wanted to go, well, I love the Avengers, I just gotta check out the next one. It was kind of this like curiosity effect that really got that push, rather than the movies themselves actually potentially being good for some people. Then Captain Marvel, as we know, only did well because it was sandwiched in between Infinity War and Endgame. That's it. That movie is terrible, right? Then, key thing to, okay, what the heck? My brain just literally turned off, which happens every day. Guys, I'm kidding. I have to entertain you guys. Calm down. Wait a minute. Hold up. Let me put some pimping in it. I'm just kidding with you guys. Sorry about that. $357 million. That's the biggest box office opening ever for a superhero movie brought in by Avengers Endgame in 2019. Yeah, that's just never going to end up happening ever again. That's a once-in-a-lifetime thing. December movie releases are known to start slow and pick up steam through the new year. Despite the first Aquaman installment's lackluster opening, it went on to gross over $335 million in North America and $1.15 billion globally. This holiday season is expected to be particularly slow compared to past years, however, in the absence of any potential mega blockbusters on the horizon. Aquaman 2 is expected to be the final Aquaman installment, as DC Studios' new co-CEOs James Gunn and Peter Safran have mapped out a reboot for the studio's future, which has posted a string of disappointing years. Since 2018, just one film, Black Adam, opened to $67 million in 2022. Has debuted more than 60 million in ticket sales, according to ComScore. That's compared to mega hits such as Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice and Suicide Squad, both in 2016. Okay, so there's something to add there. The reason why those opened to bigger numbers was not just because the names of the characters themselves. Remember, Suicide Squad as a film has characters like Harley Quinn, Joker. That's going to sell any movie, right? And Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice, obviously just that name alone sells tickets. The issue here, the reason why they had those big numbers, is because this was back at a point where you were at like the hype of superhero movies coming out. So that's kind of more these movies benefiting from the time period they came out rather than, hey, these movies are like actually pretty good, you know? Aquaman 2 is expected to bring in about just 40 million by the end of the 4-day Christmas weekend. DC Studios has suffered a wave of negative press surrounding some of its lead actors, including Momoa, court papers from Aquaman, actress Amber Heard, high-profile divorce with Johnny Depp revealed in October that Heard allegedly told her therapist Momoa was drunk on set and wanted to have her fired. A DC spokesperson denied Momoa showed up drunk to work and said he conducted himself in a professional manner at all times on set in a statement to Variety. So there is quite a bit here to digest when it comes to Aquaman 2. And it's also the question I must pose to you guys. Were you really that interested in seeing an Aquaman 2? Like, it's something that if there's no actual genuine enthusiasm when it comes to some of these movies, people just aren't going to check them out. Like, if they're not actually interested in the idea of a character, even if they have a first film that is successful, you don't generally want to try your luck like that again, because if this is a character that people really didn't care for to begin with and the movie was fine, is that something you really want to be making a sequel to? And I love the first Shazam movie, but do we really need a Shazam 2, considering the fact that the first movie pretty much bombed at the box office? Those are things that you must consider. But Aquaman 2 is obviously out in theaters right now. Are you guys going to be watching this film? I'm giving my busy work schedule right now. I probably won't have time. I'll probably end up catching Blue Beetle, The Marvels, and Aquaman 2 later on in watch parties. We'll eventually watch and review every single movie of this franchise before we get to eventually, Superman, Creature Commandos that comes out in 2024, as well as Superman Legacy that comes out in 2025. But yeah, the DCEU started out on a bad foundation, bad rocky surface with Zack Snyder, who obviously doesn't know jack shit about superheroes, Warner Brothers, who had no idea what they wanted and just only wanted just instant success based off the superhero craze at the time, and this is the result you get. And it's a universe where it already should have ended a long time ago. I don't know why it kept going on this long. We all knew it was a failure at a single point in this franchise when the Justice League film that came out back in 2017 couldn't even generate $900 million at the box office. So I'll see you guys later. Like, comment, and subscribe. Most of all, enjoy. I'm MSK, Master Swag King, and I'm signing out, guys. See you guys later. Peace. Have a great day, guys. Goodbye.